retire, and they obviously, maybe don't miss the practices or, training camp and the dead heat, but they miss being out there with their teammates. What's the last year been like for you, Jermon?
Retirement has really treated me well, man. I'm in such a fortunate place. Sometimes when I really sit back and look at it, I can't believe that I actually played, 12 years in this league. As just a young boy from King George, Virginia. It was just a tremendous journey. But kind of going back to what you said, missing the game, I miss the guys. I miss the feeling of winning. I really enjoyed competing, leading up, preparing at a high level, focusing at a higher level, and then getting out there and doing it and winning games. But, I can still watch a game right now. I enjoy watching the game. My son is all into it. So I went to a couple games this past year. I'm enjoying my retired life. I really am. I know some guys can struggle with, just not being away from the game. It can be tough, because football kind of has set our schedule ever since whenever you started playing. So that can be the tougher part about it. But as far as, missing playing football, I don't miss it. I miss those feelings. I miss being around the guys, but I don't miss running grown men every single day.
When you think about the conversation that you had with yourself and ultimately you decide to retire, and then you look at what your former quarterback Drew Brees did, and he had, I guess, the conversation and decided to go back for one more. A little bit easier for those QBs. They don't get hit near as much as you big fellas. But did you ever think that Drew Brees was going to hang it up this offseason? It feels like we're all going to be surprised when he finally does hang it up. But he's coming back for another one.
It'll be a sad day for the NFL, sad day for Louisiana and the Who Dat Nation whenever he does decide to hang it up. He's had such a great career. If you go back and you look at the stats and the things that he was able to do last year, another year of a high completion percentage. He played really well. He still is accurate. He's still very accurate. He can, get the ball where he needs to be. I didn't think he was going to step away just yet. I mean, if you're going to retire, you might as well go for the 20th year. Don't end it on 19. He has a lot of football left in him if that's what he wants to do, But I know during football season, and during OTAs and mini camps, his focus is at a high level, and I know it takes a lot out of him. But, he enjoys it, and I'm excited about the future, for the Saints and for him as well.
Jermon Bushrod joining us, former NFL tackle, 12 years in the NFL. He won a Super Bowl with the New Orleans Saints, and, of course, your quarterback during that season was the guy you were just talking about, Drew Brees. Jermon, what is something about Drew Brees that fans wouldn't realize if they're not getting a chance to be around him as much as you were in your career?
The amount of preparation, I talked about it a little bit already about his focus, but his preparation and, just everything that he does. I went back, I've seen the interview that he was doing, I believe during Radio Row, during the, the media stuff, during the Super Bowl. And he talked about everything that he does is for him to get better. And I believe that wholeheartedly. I've seen the way that he prepares. I've seen the way that he focuses. I see, he doesn't put bad things in his body. Everything that he does is for a reason. He's always on task. He's always laser focused. He puts a lot into a week of preparation leading up to a game. I kind of always reference Reggie Bush kind of videotaping him. I don't know if you guys saw it on Reggie's Instagram or social media, but he was videotaping Drew, visualizing his plays on a Friday, before the game on Sunday. I've seen him do that for years, dating back to 2009. He sits there, he visualizes every single play, every single player, what their assignment is. He goes out and he does it, and then come Sunday, everything comes natural to him. So I have a major respect for the work he's put in. He made me a better player because I didn't want to let the guy down. So I had to ramp up my focus. Coming from Towson and having an opportunity to play in the league, sometimes you don't really understand what it takes to be the best, to be the best player that you can be, and seeing guys like him and Marcus Colston back in the day, just seeing the way that they prepared on a daily basis helped motivate me as well.
You mentioned earlier the amount of games that you played and some of the wear and tear that you still feel after having played those games. the current conversation now is potentially about adding a whole nother game to the schedule in the future of the NFL. Jermon, I don't know how about you, but I feel like 16 is a pretty good number. I don't know that we necessarily need 17. It feels a little greedy. What would you have made of a 17-game season? What do you think about the potential for a 17-game season?
It doesn't make sense, man. It doesn't. I mean, 16 games, 16 NFL, and let's go back to the preseason. So you know, if you're a guy just trying to make the team, you know, you could potentially play 20 games before you even get to the playoffs. You know, it's a lot. It's a lot on your body, and just because you know you have a game, you know, during the week, Wednesday, Thursdays, those are still hard practices. You're putting your body through a lot. So if you want to add games, then there needs to be. I mean, one bye week is kind of not even enough, you know, for 16 games. You know, as kind of looking back at it, as my last year in New Orleans, I kind of took a backup role so I kind of would see things, you know, how the team would operate. It was a struggle to get guys to go week 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and then week 17 to play that last game. It's tough on the players, and you know the owners want to continue to add, but I haven't heard anything about any health care, any long-term health care. So, you know, that's when the conversation, you know, that's when the players will start being open to the CBA stuff. When you start seeing, okay, how we going to get taken care of for life? Because this game, it messes players up, you know, especially depending on certain positions that you play. You know, guys are going to be dealing with things for the rest of their lives. So that's, let's talk about health care. You know, let's talk about those kind of long-term things. Yeah, you can give us a little bit more money to go play in another game, but how much money are you actually making on those games? You know, talking about the owners.
Jermon Bushrod, former NFL tackle, 12-year vet in the league, Super Bowl champion, joining us here on the Main Event on SB Nation Radio. You know, there seems to be a lot of anger from the players' side of things about how this deal right now with the CBA is being negotiated. Jermon, if you were still a player, what would be, you know, your message to the other guys that you're trying to get a deal with? What would be, you know, your main focus and what you wanted to see in the CBA that would have to be in there if you were going to agree to a new deal?
As someone, you know, kind of going back to what I said a little earlier, how are we going to be set up long term? These guys, you know, we have families, kids, people who depend on us. You know, we want to be there the best we can, but you know, also by the time we're 50 years old, we want to make sure that we're covered. We want to make sure that we can walk away from this game knowing that the NFL has our back and we're not just another piece to the puzzle. You know, you understand what I'm saying? Like, we just have to be taken care of as players.
Is healthcare the number one thing that you think the players, you know, need to get addressed in this new CBA? Would that be the top thing? Fair to say?
I mean, if it was me, I would say take away Thursday night football games too. I mean, if we're going to continue to keep preaching player safety, to turn around and be your competitive self on a Thursday. Some guy, you know, I know for me later on in my career, you know, by the time Thursday rolled around, I just started feeling better, you know, and now you got to go play a whole nother game. You know, let's increase this roster size a little bit. Instead of dressing 46, why don't we dress all 53 guys if you want to continue to keep adding games? It's a lot of wear and tear on guys.
Jermon, when you think about, you know, the way this works, I think a lot of people see the you know, star players or the long-term players, but I think that the way you've kind of approached this, the way you've thought about this is you got to take care of the guys that just get the cup of coffee, that hang around for 2-3 years, for 4 years, that play a little bit. And I don't know that we as the fans, and I don't know that even the owners really think about those guys. I mean, a lot of times guys who play for a long time, they are taken care of and set up, but some of those guys who only play a short amount of times, they don't get that luxury.
No, they don't, and that all depends on the opportunities they have, the injuries they have. Some of those guys, they don't play. I've seen, you know, I've been able to cross paths with a lot of good players, but they just can't stay on the field, or they have a lot of concussions. So, you know, that's part of the NFL, man. If you're able to get it done, you can play for a while. You know, if you're not hurt, you can, you know, you have the opportunity to play for a while. But if not, you know, you're kind of forgotten about at times.
Jermon Bushrod joining us here on the Main Event. Where are you at with, like, the franchise tag? And you know, there's been a lot of issues in the past about how much power Roger Goodell has had over making decisions, kind of being the judge and the jury, so to speak. Where are you at with some of those items? Because they always seem to be a big deal throughout the news cycle every once in a while, and then you haven't heard a whole lot about that being negotiated in this new CBA.
Right. As far as franchise tags, things like of that nature, I can understand. Now, if a player does get franchise tagged, I mean, you are taken care of pretty well for a year, but that means that organization is not trying to make that long-term investment into you. And that's frustrating as a player because you go out there and it's football. You don't know how many good years you're going to have left. You're one bad play from being knocked out of a season, and then you're affected long-term because you got franchise tag and you didn't get that long-term deal like you wanted or sometimes you deserve. So, yeah, I mean, this is a player-driven league, and we have to find a way to continue to, make sure that the players are at the forefront of this thing and making sure the decisions are made on the behalf of the players.
Jermon, tell us a little bit about visualizeandrise.org and how you ended up with them and what the folks can expect when they get involved with Visualize and Rise.
Visualize and Rise is our non-for-profit organization that my family and I, we started back after our Super Bowl win in 2010. We started it with a youth football camp, and now we're doing the 11th free youth football camp, and we have our 10th annual celebrity golf tournament coming up. And from that golf tournament, we do a really good job of raising funds for our Visualize and Rise Scholarship Fund, where we help student athletes in high school who are going to the next level to continue their education or potentially play a sport. But, we're trying to take care of the books for like 20 to 25 students per year, and we're able to, fund a YMCA membership program so we can promote a healthier lifestyle to younger kids. And around the holiday time, we're feeding families, feeding individuals, and making sure that, kids and families have some gifts to open up, when they're around the Christmas time. We're doing toy drives and things like that. So we're really trying to help out underserved families and underserved youth in communities in Virginia. We've held events in Chicago, South Florida, and New Orleans. And, it makes us feel good that this foundation has grown the way that it has over the years. And we have a lot of people coming together for a great cause. My time playing football was great, but the fact that I had this opportunity to give back, I have other people who are right there with me, right there beside me. They're ready to give back. And, it's a really good feeling and something that we can build a legacy upon.
Now, Jermon, before we let you go, I was looking into kind of what you've been up to post-retirement, and I noticed that you have a show you launched, I think, on YouTube, right? The Bush and Me Show. Tell the listeners about that show, and are you trying to steal Cody and I's jobs by getting into media and doing a show?
No, I think there's enough room for all of us. But the concept of the show, I've like you said, I've traveled all over the place, but now I have an opportunity to travel and, not be cooped up in my hotel room. Like in my playing days, I get to get out and go, if I go hit Baltimore, if I go hit New Orleans, I mean, obviously I lived in these places, but, we like to travel with it. We like to try some of the local food and interview some fans and talk sports, talk food, talk whatever destination we're in. And, it's fun for us. We have a podcast deal that's with it, and we're trying to do some stuff on the YouTube side. It was kind of an experiment for the first season, but the second season we're going to start to nail down the plan, man. That's at the Bush and Me Show. It's fun, I like to talk. I mean, obviously I played around 320, 325, so I like to eat. And traveling is something that I enjoy doing as well because I had the opportunity to do it my 12 years in the NFL, and that's just kind of inspired me and motivated me to go and do something like this. 3 things that I enjoy doing. Might as well wrap it up into one deal and see where it takes us.
Well, when you make it to Houston, swing by. We got some food spots for you.
Exactly.
Hey, say no more, man. Say no more. That's what we're doing now. We're trying to set a lineup, and we're trying to get some things done.
Awesome. Well, you give us a call if you're ever in H-Town. This has been a ton of fun for us, Jermon. Congrats on an amazing career, and it's great to see you doing so well in retirement.
I appreciate you guys. Continue to look out for me and definitely support the foundation, visualizeandrise.org. Thanks.
He's Jermon Bushrod. You heard him, visualizeandrise.org for more information on the Visualize and Rise Foundation.